I want to introduce an engineering concept here to explain the way thinking helps us in capacity building, okay? In engineering, there is something known as deformation. I'm going to explain it for us to understand. Deformation is actually the change in shape of, let's say, an object when it's put under stress or when a force is applied to it. So when you apply force to something, for instance, you pick a ball, maybe a rubber ball. When you squeeze it, it deforms, it changes size, but usually it will be restored. Pick something like an elastic material. You may have maybe a trouser or shorts or a skirt that is elastic. When you stretch it, what you are doing is you're actually causing deformation. You are causing it to change its original shape. That is deformation. But then I want to bring our minds to two types of deformation. In engineering, we have what we call elastic deformation. Elastic deformation. Now, I spoke about an elastic material, like you have some shorts or a belt that is elastic. When you pull it and you leave it, when you remove your hand from it, it will come back to its original size. That is known as elastic deformation. When a body restores or goes back to its original shape or size after the force that is being applied is restrained from it, that is elastic deformation. So if you have elastic materials, when you pull them like a rubber band, when you stretch a rubber band and you leave it, it comes back to its size. That is called elastic deformation. But there is another kind of deformation called plastic deformation. Now, plastic deformation is different from elastic deformation. In plastic deformation, when you stretch the thing, it does not return to its original size. Let me use the elastic material as an example again. Have you realized that there are times you have certain elastic things, like maybe you have shorts, you have a trouser or something. A time comes, it loses its elasticity. It no longer is like it stretches beyond the limit. It is called, in engineering, we call it elastic limit. When you stretch the thing beyond this elastic limit, what happens is called plastic deformation. It means that it is now permanently deformed. Previously, it was temporarily deformed. When the elastic material is functioning effectively and you stretch it, it's a temporary deformation because it returns to its original size. In plastic deformation, when you stretch it, it doesn't return. It means that when you stretched it, the new length you give it becomes its original or its normal natural length now. I believe it's understandable. So in an elastic material, when you stretch it, you say you've spoiled the thing. It means you've gone beyond its elastic limit. Now, these are two types of deformation. Now, how are they related? Okay, we'll get there. I'll connect it soon. In thinking, one of the things we should understand is, as you think like you should, as you think rightly as a leader, as we go forward, it will be clearer. What happens is that you stretch your mind in thinking. Now, you can stretch your mind to a point where you break into a new level of thinking. So it means that you've now encountered what an engineer will call plastic deformation. Your mind can now receive more ideas. You've broken that threshold. You've broken that barrier. You've broken that limit. You've entered a new phase. That new phase becomes your new level. So as you think thoroughly through things, you realize that sometimes it's like you've entered another phase. Now new thoughts keep coming to you concerning that ministry, concerning that business, concerning that corporation. It's as if you've entered another level of thinking. The kind of ideas that rush into your mind are more like on a higher plane. You're like, no, I used not to think like this before. Where are all these ideas from? It's because plastic deformation has occurred. You've broken into another level because you've been thinking.